Perhaps you've been aware of the Beatles and John Lennon for your entire life. You may even be a fan and ignore all the heinous actions of this flimsy ute. Maybe you've just been chilling at a party before being ambushed by a male manipulator whose only goal is to over-explain the achievements of John Lennon, even though that same person would actively try and cancel them if they were alive today. Maybe this led you to a Google search which left you looking like this after 5 minutes of research. Well, if you fit into that extremely overly specific scenario, this is the perfect video for you. And if you don't, watch anyway, this needs to be uncovered. I'm going to list the worst things John Lennon has ever done. That's right, I'm going full watch mojo on this one. And for legal reasons, the majority of this video is a parody. This video is a joke, YouTube. Don't leave with me. Let's start this off with something a little bit light. This dude was inspired by the Beatles. This wonky-eyed motherfucker listened to these dudes whine about taxes while simultaneously being the biggest band of all time and decided to make music. What makes this even worse is the entire generation of people who have based their entire personality around this song, Creep. If it wasn't for John Lennon and his stinky band, the generation that became creeps thanks to Wonky Eye would have been inspired by John the Fisherman by Primus instead. We would have a bountiful harvest of fish, not to mention sustainable fishing practices. But no, this dude decided to pick up a guitar instead. Number 2, he was a serial cheater, and you may be thinking, although it's bad to cheat, it's not a nice thing to do, but loads of people cheat. Surely this isn't heinous enough to make the list on a video about John Lennon. Well, that's until you find out the woman that made John Lennon cheat. Yeah, that's right. This woman, who would go on to scream for a living, was a little bit too much for John to handle. I repeat, John Lennon got bricked up over this woman. Number 3, this abysmal fit. Imagine being one of the most influential and richest individuals on the planet and choosing to drape this over your body. Where the f is the monkey t-shirt? Where the f is the Coolia merch that was supposed to be out by now but is running late? This dude ain't even got any bathing ape.
Y'all stop complaining like these fools. Don't y'all?
Let's have a look at some other examples. You see, this is how it should be. Notice how the jeans are tastefully draped over the legs, creating something not only aesthetically pleasing but functional. This dude made his way out the hood. John Lennon could never escape Birmingham. Speaking of Birmingham, his entire existence is essentially a mistake as he was born in this godforsaken land. Imagine a kid obsessed with the Beatles and being cringe, finding out where his favourite musician is from. They decide to visit the area, they arrive with excitement and a willingness to learn about the area and culture that inspired their favourite artist. They arrive to see the happiest man in Birmingham, followed by black bin bags on the street and the stench of food poisoning. That can change a person, and honestly, John Lennon should have known better. Number 5, he was insecure. In the early days of the Beatles, Lennon was particularly close to their manager, Brian Epstein. Due to the nature of their friendship, rumours began to spread about the sexuality of Lennon. A friend of the band, Bob Wooler, would joke about a holiday Lennon and Epstein had recently been on, asking how the honeymoon was. This enraged Lennon, causing him to perform his patented, rarely performed male manipulator strike, immediately eradicating Wooler from existence. Lennon would later actually admit this, saying he battered his bloody ribs in, which I find hard to believe. Lennon seemed to only have his sights set on one type of person when it came to violence, and I'll let you figure what that means out yourself. This next one isn't actually John Lennon's fault, as it would occur after Lennon was banished to the Shadow Realm. 2010 would see the unveiling of the John Lennon Peace Monument, which is completely bizarre to me. An individual who was actively known to be a terrible father and husband, an individual who used to beat the shit out of people for fun. This individual apparently is considered a martyr of peace, so much so that he is worthy of a monument, all because he wrote a song called Imagine and said the N-word on live TV. The final point, the last one, according to many, John Lennon absolutely reeked and rarely showered, which isn't surprising, just look at him. The motherfucker also stayed in bed for weeks for no reason other than apparently his idea of peace. As opposed to causing any real change, John and Oko just made things very uncomfortable for media members due to their unholy stench. Never be stinky, unless you look like this, a stench is unacceptable. Although John Lennon was involved in what many see as one of the most influential bands of all time, his actions both in and out of music have been extremely morally questionable. And although this video is complete waffle and just a post, it teaches a lesson that you should not forget. John Lennon is simply cringe, and not the being cringe as being based as being free type of cringe, just the cringe. The being cringe as being cringe kind of cringe.
I walk a lonely road, the only road that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's only me and I walk alone.